What is up, guys? Welcome to the ThinkComputers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 429, and we're back after being off for 2 weeks. And our podcast is brought to you by Amazon. If you go to thinkcomputers.org/Amazon and happen to purchase something, that gives us a little kickback and keeps the podcast sort of chugging along. And we're chugging along towards the end of the year. Of course, with me is my esteemed co-host, Ryan.
Esteemed, huh? I'm still full from last week when we didn't have our podcast. I ate some good food for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
that's why we were not here because of
Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was busy. We had 2 of them on Thanksgiving, and then we had kind of like we don't usually get together with my wife's side of the family on Thanksgiving. It's just I don't know, we never have. But we ended up doing one that weekend, so I had 3 big meals. So
nice.
How about you? I know you traveled a little bit, didn't you?
I did travel. We have an old man in the chat. Good to see him here. So I traveled. My girlfriend's family, they live in like Fremont, which is like the Bay Area. So we did like a little road trip. We drove from San Diego all the way up there, stopped on the way up in a town called Solvang, which is like the Christmas town of California, sort of. It's like it's supposed to be
like Swedish or something. Or
yeah, it's supposed to be like a Dutch village. It was pretty cool. I wouldn't spend more than a day there, but it was pretty cool. And then we went up to Fremont. It was pretty cool because like I've been to Fremont a couple times for like to visit companies, and we were just driving. Like I just drove by Seagate head office, drove by the Tesla. They moved their headquarters to Texas, but like their original HQ right there, drove right by that, which was pretty cool to see. Not a biggest fan of Fremont. It's just like flat and not a fan. But then on the way back, I stopped in Santa Barbara. I had never been there before, and that was pretty cool as well. So it's just a nice little road trip. Lots of driving, obviously. But yeah, just good time. Ate a lot of food. Cheated on my carnivore diet.
But
it's kind of expected, for the holidays, but back on the carnivore diet. So feeling good. Lots to talk about. A lot has gone on in the 2 weeks since we've been on the podcast. Some really big, major tech news going on. So we're going to be talking about an X870E motherboard that I had a chance to look at. Ryan took a look at some wireless microphones. Also, a pretty inexpensive CPU cooler that performs really well. So we're going to be talking about that. Obviously, the big news that came out this week is everything about NZXT and their Flex PC rental program. We'll be going through all of that. Intel, of course, there are 2 big Intel stories this week. One, their CEO is out.
Yep,
Pat, I forget his last name, but Pat, he's out. But also Battle Mage or their Series 2 of Intel Arc graphics cards. Those came out. We'll be talking about that. Some other interesting stories, some RTX 50 series stuff. So lots to talk about this week. I do want to say, guys, if you are on social media, especially on X, give us a retweet on this because it definitely really helps us out. The live thing, because we are live on all social, or not all social media. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. So if you are on X, give us a retweet. It definitely helps out. But let's jump right into it. We'll talk about our reviews first, and when we get to all the juicy NZXT stuff, we'll try to get through all these reviews quite quickly. So I took a look at the ASRock X870E Taichi Motherboard. This comes in sort of as their flagship. I know the Aqua is their actual flagship, the limited edition Aqua, but this is sort of their flagship X870E motherboard. Everybody, if you don't know the Taichi line, it's always been one of my favorites from ASRock because it gives you all the high-end features at a reasonable cost. So lots of stuff going on with this board. I think this generation on both the Intel and the AMD side really is giving you everything this generation. We kind of had a mix of certain boards had certain things, but with this, we get everything. The big thing with this board is that it is an extended ATX motherboard. So this thing is big. Like it gives you some
wide.
Yeah, it gives you some extra space, which one, there's an M.2 slot right here. So that M.2 slot is actually in a much better position, not only for swapping out your M.2 and installing an M.2, but for cooling, because typically in a case you would have fans right here blowing this way. So really cool to see that. The overall design of the board, we've gone from super flashy to not as flashy. I feel like with the RGB lighting, which I'll show you, ASRock has the most RGB that I've seen on a board in this, on an X870E board. So that's definitely nice to see. You still get the sort of clockwork design, but it's definitely pulled back a little bit from previous generations. One thing that we haven't seen is that clockwork that actually that we had. I think it was
moves. Yeah,
590 was the last time we saw it. I always hope that it's going to come back. Like they're going to bring it back.
It was cool. Yeah,
it was a cool thing at the time. So we're not going to go ahead and get that. As far as power delivery, this is a 24+2+1 power phase design. The power phases for the CPU are 110 amps. That's kind of the standard when it comes to these boards these days. So you're getting 110 amps. Damon in the chat. Good to see Damon here as well. He has the Z590 Taichi. I should have kept that. When I moved across the country, I got rid of a lot of boards. I should have kept that board for that specific.
That's pretty unique. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool thing. Great power design here. 2 large heat sinks that you can see right here that cover anything. I think we're sort of slowly getting out of like you have to worry about VRMs overheating these days. There is an active cooling fan in right here. You can see that's why we have the sort of cutouts right here. So there is an active cooling fan there, so you really don't have to worry about that. Let's see here. Going down, I know what you guys want to see is the M.2s. One thing about this board, it has a lot of toolless features. Finally, ASRock was the holdout when it came to toolless, especially
PCI,
M.2. So this M.2 that I showed you on the side of the board, and then the Gen 5 M.2, which is right here, you can see this little button. You basically slide that over, and it releases the M.2 heatsink. So really nice to see that. This bottom one, you can see we do have 4 screws. These are 4 screws that stay attached to the heatsink, so you don't have to worry about losing them. That was always the biggest thing with ASRock motherboards. So they've made that change. You can also see the easy release on the graphics card. So you just pull that and it will release your graphics card. All the toolless systems work really, really well. And then you can see the M.2 slots here as well. They also have the little, kind of like the little tabs that you sort of just turn and they lock the M.2 in. So again, you don't have to worry about little screws or anything like that. They're right here. You can see them. They're on every M.2 slot, so you don't have to worry. So if you're counting, we have 2 M.2s here, 1 here, and 1 on the side. So 4 total M.2 slots on this board. The top one is a Gen 5, and the 2 over here are Gen 4. I believe the one on the side is Gen 4 as well. So rear I/O, big thing. Of course, you want to see a lot of USB. You're getting 2 USB 4s, which are Type C, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 more Type A's and 2 Type C, so 12 total. Is that enough for you, Ryan, or do you need more?
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It's all good.
5 gig LAN on here, and of course Wi-Fi 7. Wi-Fi 7 is excellent. I run a home Wi-Fi 7 network. I love it. It's super fast. We also get a clear CMOS and BIOS reset switch on the back. Definitely like to see that. Another thing that I didn't point out, let me get a shot of the board, is we do get power and reset on the board. I test obviously motherboards on a test bench, and not like I'm not connecting a power button, so having power and reset on the board is great. And the postcode display here as well. If you're ever having an issue, it's just good to get that code so then you can research it. Makes it really easy if you are doing any type of troubleshooting. Damon in the chat says, I like to see PCIe 5.0 redrivers between the PCIe slots, so you know you get stable Gen 5 performance out of the bottom slot as well. Yeah, definitely good to see all of that on almost all of these boards. You'll see that. And ASRock has done I feel like they're finally, I wouldn't say they were behind, but I feel like they're finally catching up when it comes to their board design and sort of like their feature set. I always felt like they were slightly behind. So it's definitely nice to see that. You're also going to get an internal USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 header, which is right here. So if you did have a new case that had a Type-C, you can get the full speed out of that if you wanted to. So definitely nice to see that. If you want to see what it looks like all lit up, and there is like thermal armor on the back. It definitely helps out with the rigidity of the board, especially since this is a larger board. Definitely helps out with cooling too. So lighting on that rear IO, you get some lighting that is behind there. And then the bottom part of the heatsink has a row or an RGB strip down there. So I put a RTX 4080 Super, the Strix one, which is huge. And you could still see the RGB from below. So even though this isn't a ton of RGB, like I said, it's the most RGB that I've seen on a X870E board. Yep. So good to see. And obviously you have multiple RGB headers if you want to add more through the board, but that is kind of what our setup is, looks like. They're still running their A-tuning software, incredibly outdated in my opinion. We have a full walkthrough of their BIOS. Not much has changed in their BIOS. Everything is really easy to find, but compared to some of the others, also feels a little dated. Overall, though, I think this is a good board. It's going to give you everything that you want in an X870E platform and a lot of the newer connectivity options when it comes to Wi-Fi 7, USB 4, all that kind of stuff. The power design is fine with the 110 amp power stages. So if you're running a high-end Ryzen 9 processor, won't be an issue at all. So I definitely like that. Size can be an issue. Extended ATX not always supported, and it's kind of, when you look at it, yeah, you might be able to tell, but some people might not. So just keep in mind that it is extended ATX, so it's not going to fit in all cases. All the toolless stuff, finally good to see from ASRock as well. It's just over $500, which puts it in the sort of mid-range when it comes to X870E motherboards. Some of them go up to $800, $900. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, software and BIOS just seem a little dated, and eATX just won't fit in all cases, but it has everything that you want on an X870E platform. Looks good doing it, and no stability issues with VRMs or overclocking or anything like that. So definitely go ahead and check out my review. Of course, it is going to be linked in the show notes. Now, moving on, Ryan, if you want to bring up your review, you took a look at a wireless lav system. And I love these because they are what we do, content creation. These are perfect for content creation.
Yeah, exactly. And we've taken a look at quite a few wireless mic sets from other companies. Hollyland. You and I have talked about some of the DJI wireless mic sets. FiFine is a company that we've taken a look at a few of their products over the last couple of years. Some microphones, some audio interfaces, and they sent over the M9 dual wireless lav mic set. Right. So this is a as the name implies, right, dual microphone setup, so you can have a face-to-face interview or just two receivers essentially, right, or transmitters in the kit, and super easy to set up and get going, just like a bunch of the others that we have taken a look at, but we'll get into that here in a second. Comes in a really nice package. I've got the box here, so it's got like this hard shell case. That's fine. Oh, come on now. I'll just hold it back here, right? So it comes with a nice hard shell case there to bring it around with you. But we do have the charging case as well that's a lot smaller. But if you want to bring all the cables along with you that come with this kit, you definitely want to use the zippered hard case pouch, because it does come with multiple cables and connection options for connecting to things like phones, tablets, your camera, and depending on what type of interface those devices have, you're going to want to have these cables with you. You also get a USB cable for charging, the charging and carrying case, and a couple dead cat windscreens there as well to go along with it for those outdoor use cases or other times when you want some additional pop filtering, things like that. Oh, there we go. Didn't seem like it wanted to change. Like I showed, it comes in a really nice carrying case that has everything inside. USB Type-C connectivity on the back for charging. Lid pops open and we get a nice view of the contents inside. So we've got the 2 transmitters left and right of the center receiver. Those are all held in via magnets at the bottom. So you like put them into their slot and they kind of pull down, which is really nice. Just keeps them, you know, that they're going in correctly, and just holds them in. Another feature I liked that I haven't seen, at least on my other wireless mic kit, was these little foam pieces up at the top that just adds a soft layer to that lid, so they're not rattling around and getting scratched and scuffed up. You know, holds them in there tight, so it just was just one of those fit and finish pieces that I really liked about this. But like I said, that carrying case also has a battery in it, so it can charge all of these components while they're in the case. You can get a full day of battery use out of these, multiple hours of use on the transmitter and receivers, and then you can recharge them with that case multiple times because you got plenty of battery capacity.
I think that's carrying case. That's one of the best things because, you know, like just like in a month we'll be in CES and you go from interview to interview and you put them back in the case and then they charge. Then you don't have to like pull them out and be like, oh, this is dead. Like, what do we do?
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah. So. And you know, you're throwing them back in there to like organize them and charge them. And you can even get a little bit of a charge, like, you know, between meetings, right? You just throw them back in there and you're going on to the next thing or you're going on to your next shoot or whatever, throw them back in the case. They're good to go. And the nice thing about these, which I guess we'll just bring it up now, is as soon as you pull out a transmitter and the receiver, they automatically pair. So you don't have to like hold down a little button, even though they do have like a pairing button on them in case you need to use it. But they automatically pair and turn on as soon as you pull them out. So super easy. There is no setup. Like it just happens, which is so awesome. So we've got the transmitter here. Nothing too special about it. It does have a little clip on the back, so you can clip it onto like your belt buckle or something else if you need, but it also fits into a cold shoe on like a camera or a camera rig so that you can just have it mounted there for connectivity. We get a little bit of a display here. Nothing fancy, right? We've seen some with some nice LCD screens on them that are a lot more animated and can show multiple types of information formats, things like that. This is just lit up icons, but it's better than nothing, right? And it, especially at this price point, right? Really nice price point on these microphones, which we'll get to towards the end. But it does have the functionality you expect. Again, here's that USB Type-C charging port on the bottom. So if you want to charge it outside of the case, you can do so. But then you also have the little connectors at the bottom for that pogo style charging at the bottom of the case. To make contact, we've got power and volume buttons for each of the channels on this. So your A and B channel on your transmitters. And then on the other side of the receiver, we've got the audio out. You can go to mono or stereo mode. So what that means is you can have each transmitter recorded in its own track, or you can bring them together into one so that you've got the same audio on both sides. So depending on your recording use case and what you're going to do with it afterwards, you may want mono sound from these, you may want stereo. It really depends what you're doing in the end with them, but that button gives you access to that. And then there is the pairing button, like I said, in case you do need to use it. But these have a 290 milliamp hour battery in the receiver, which will give you up to 12 hours of use. And then the transmitters have a little bit smaller battery in them, which I think gives you 6 hours each on those. But still like almost a full day of use, really. And if you toss them back in that case, charge them up, you're going to get longer work time out of them. Distance on these is kind of going to depend where you're using them, but anywhere from 100 to 150 feet. And it really kind of, you know, those are the numbers that FiFine gave to us, depending on if it was you're reading the package or the website, things like that. But it's all going to depend on line of sight, and if you've got walls in between or trees or, you know, whatever's going on in your environment are all going to factor into the range on these. And then taking a look over at the transmitters, we've again got that kind of texture design there. a couple LEDs up towards the top to show you your status as far as pairing and if they're in a mono or stereo mode, as well as mute status. Same type of clip on the back, so you can clip it onto your shirt, your collar, whatever you need to. Up top, we've got the microphone itself, and then that's where you also clip in the dead cat, which I show on another page here. Same type of charging port at the bottom. The power button also acts as a mute, so if you just kind of tap it, it's going to go and mute that microphone. And then you have a button on the side, on the opposite side, for noise cancellation. Not a feature I recommend using on this set of microphones.
I feel like,
and I've never found good noise cancellation on.
I feel like it clips too much. It clips too much, and it also, whatever they use, and it's not just a FiFine issue. Like I've seen this on multiple mics that I've used. It almost, it's like it's, you know, when you had a really bad wireless mic for your computer, and it's sort of like computerizes your voice a little bit. I feel like
absolutely.
It does. Yeah,
it does. And that comes out in our recording, right? So setup and usage of this, like I said, you pull them out, they pair up and turn on automatically. And you're right there, right? And I've got this picture here. Here's what it looks like with the dead cat on the top. You can see the little blue light indicating that they are paired to the receiver, and it is lit up there and ready to go. Here's a quick shot of it on my action cam with the receiver right on top in the cold shoe of this case for my camera. Got the cable connected over to the audio interface, and super easy to just, you know, install. You can mount it so you've got access to the visuals on the back of that receiver there, so you can see exactly what channels are on, what the status is, things like that. And then I've got a couple audio samples of the wireless mic sets that I had in hand, which really is just this M9 and then my Hollyland kit. Like I mentioned, I do not like the noise cancellation. It made the voice very robotic. Just was not a fan of it.
I honestly, like I said, I haven't seen a really good implementation of it.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure there are some really high-end kits maybe that do it, but for the price point and ease of use and feature set of these, it's just tough to implement probably noise cancellation at this price point.
And I feel like if you're somebody making content, like Adobe has built-in
right, there's
AI
other tools
voice,
you can
AI voice correction and stuff that's very, very good, and it's just like a one-click button. So
post-processing, run it through there and you'll be good. So overall, not a bad kit. I really like the charging piece. Right now, it's available for $82.99. That's the typical price. It was on sale cheaper over the holidays. I think that has gone back up in price. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and really, it was just kind of average audio quality without noise cancellation turned on. But once you turn that noise cancellation on, it was bad. But it is a very, very affordable wireless kit, right? $83, super easy to set up. You've got that charging case. You've got wide device compatibility with all of those included cables that come with it. So, take a look at the device you're wanting to use it with, and, most likely going to be able to interface with it. But yeah, the audio quality, it was fine. Like if you're needing a affordable wireless mic system, definitely worth checking out. Listen to the audio samples in the review. If it sounds like something you'd be interested in, take a look at it.
Yeah, an old man in the chat said if he was a content creator, he'd definitely invest in a good mic. Yeah, he said it's the biggest mistake new YouTubers make. Is that's the biggest thing. You're not gonna just like now, like Brian and I both have good microphones. You're not gonna listen to us if we have bad audio. If our video is crappy, and it has been sometimes on this podcast, you're still going to listen, right? So that's the biggest thing. And if you're a content creator, that's one of the things I do suggest that you do invest in. And even if you're a streamer or something like that, you want to eventually, if you are on a headset mic, you eventually want to get to a dedicated mic and kind of go from there. But definitely worth checking out. So check out Ryan's review. Now, I took a look at another Scythe CPU cooler, and this is their Mugen 6 DBE or dual fan black edition. I reviewed the original Mugen 6, and it was the best bang for your buck CPU cooler. Excellent performance. I think at the time I reviewed it, it was like $34.99, which is like crazy. This version is all blacked out. So black fans, black heatsink. That was the biggest problem with the original Mugen 6, was that it was just essentially ugly and it just looked old. Being all black means that it's going to fit in essentially any build. It's going to look good. It looks modern. And it adds the second fan on the back. So you can see you get two of their fans. Like I said, it's essentially the same CPU cooler as the original. It just adds the second fan, and everything is blacked out, including the heat pipes and everything like that. So an excellent cooler. And one thing I like about this cooler too is that while it's a single fan, single tower dual fan, it's not going to cover your memory. And that heatsink here is actually pretty wide, but it has an offset design. So you have 100% RAM compatibility. You can see how it's offset back here. You can see how the heat pipes kind of go like that. So that allows you to have the 100% RAM compatibility there. The fans are held on by clips. Those clips are black. Little details like that when it comes to like a black edition. I feel some companies miss that. So really good to see there. You have what, 6 heat pipes here. Solid design, really easy installation of this as well. You can easily install this with your motherboard mounted in your case. Not an issue there. And then let's just jump to performance. So when it comes to performance, everything's loading so slow. I feel like I'm getting DDoSed.
Well, when I was trying to click to my next page, earlier, it was.
But again, this is competing against, idle temperature. It's competing against like I said, we have the Noctua NHD15G2 in here. We have everything. So it's competing against like the highest end air coolers, and it's doing pretty well. So idle, you can see it sits very close to the top. If we get into load, our first load test, which is like a minor load, it sits again still towards the higher end here, doing it right around the same performance as the original. And then, beating the Deep Cooler AK620, which is a large cooler, AK500 from Deep Cooler as well. So beating those. And then when it comes to the super high load test, it actually did very, very well. Just 1 or 2 degrees cooler than the Noctua NHD15G2, which is the best performing air cooler that we've tested. Same with the Corsair A115, the Cooler Master Air MA824 Stealth, and those are much bigger coolers. Yeah. They're huge coolers that are going to cover your memory. This doesn't. So really good overall performance. And if you look at this, it's 65 degrees Celsius at full max load, but the original is only 2 degrees higher at 67. And if we look at like the price difference, that's kind of where it's $54.99, where the Mugen 6 is like $34.99. So it is much higher
jump,
bump in price. I would say it looks far better. It's still, for $54.99, you're getting very, very good performance to the highest end CPU coolers that essentially start at on a good day start at $79.99. Right. Typically $89.99, $99.99. That NHD15G2 is $149. So you could essentially get almost 3 of these for the same price as that. So I think, once again, Scythe does a really good job of a good cooler, easy to install. It's not necessarily the flashiest thing out there, but it's $54.99. You can't complain about that. So I gave it a 9 out of 10 and a good value award, because even still at $54.99, it is a very good value. It's kind of what we used to expect from high-end coolers before all of the inflation and everything like that. And we started seeing the $100 air coolers. So this performs like a $100 air cooler for $54.99. So
seems good.
Yeah, definitely check that review out. And if you're building a new system, this is a cooler that I can definitely recommend to you, because it's just easy to install. It works. It's quiet. So we're gonna move on to Case Mod Friday. Of course, that's where we feature a builder mod that has been completed here in the community, and we have a Fallout themed mod. Did you watch the Fallout show?
We watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, maybe, and then we just kind of stopped. I don't know.
Okay.
I need to finish it because I enjoyed it. It's just you get busy and then
you just totally forget.
Yeah.
So this is from SA Mod, and it's done in the Thermaltake, the Tower 600, which is a little bit of a bigger case. And I love the, like, I feel like if they're done well, almost all Fallout builds will look really good. Just because I love the colors. The colors are just so blue and yellow.
And there's kind of 2 versions of Fallout, right? You can do this blue and yellow, right? Vault Tech style build, or you can do the more like the helmet, the Brotherhood helmet there, right? With the dirty and gritty look. I think this is sweet, especially with the AIO, with the visuals there. That's awesome.
The visuals that look like the Pip-Boy.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
very, very cool.
Oh, and the fans have the character, I forget his name, in there. This is cool.
Yeah, very cool build.
Thematic build.
Just fits the theme perfectly. Really, really like that. Of course, you have the yellow coolant in the hard tubing there. Just everything goes together quite well. Damon in the chat says, who is the modder? It's SA Mod. We have them linked right here. I believe this goes to their this goes to their Instagram. So SA Mod. But yeah, we always link back to either their Facebook or their website, or typically it's Facebook or Instagram. And if we can't find any of that, we just link to like the build log where we find these. And then Damon says he needs to post his mod somewhere. Yeah, post it or send it to me. We'll feature it, man. For sure. So shout out again to SA Mod for this one. And like I always say, we do have a full section of Case Mod Friday builds. You can just go to articles, Case Mod Friday, and then you can, I showed you guys this last week, but you can essentially scroll forever because we have so many. We do one every Friday, so you can essentially just scroll this page forever if you want to check out mods. From there, we're going to move on to the big news of this week. NZXT. Gamers Nexus has been doing these investigations of multiple companies, and they do such a good job uncovering the facts and bringing a lot of things to light that most consumers and even us won't necessarily know about. So they did a deep dive on NZXT and NZXT's Flex program. If you're not familiar with the Flex program, this is where you could essentially rent a gaming PC. When it was announced, Ryan and I talked about it. We essentially said that if you can't afford a PC, either save up a little bit for a console, because you're buying a gaming PC because you want a game.
Right.
Buy a console. You can save up for a few months and buy a console, or cloud. I suggested cloud gaming because you can play that on any sort of really underpowered device. It doesn't matter as long as you have a good internet connection. That was our advice. We said it was overpriced for what it was, and if it was just overpriced for what it was, I don't think this story would have came out, because you see that with pre-builds being overpriced, sometimes to the tune of like 30-40% over what the parts cost. We see it happens in this industry. That's normal. But Gamers Nexus did a deep dive on the NZXT Flex program, and there's a lot of shady stuff going on when it comes to it. They have the whole video. We have the video in the article. Watch the video. It's 40 minutes long, but it's worth a watch. The biggest things that sort of stick out to me in the video is there's sort of a bait and switch on their website. So their computers that you can get in this program are called like Player 1, Player 2, Player 3. And you can also buy these outright. You can just buy them. So when you go to the webpage, you have the option to buy and the option to rent. And when you initially on the page, it's just to buy it, and you have your list of specs. And then when you hit on rent, the specs change, but you can't really. It's like you can't tell that it's still called.
Name stays the same, right? Yeah.
And it's like going from. I don't know what it was in the video, but it was like going from like a Ryzen 7600X and the one you buy to a Ryzen like 5600X or something else, or going from like a 4070 Ti to a 4070 Ti Super, which would obviously cause, a difference in performance in your game. Also, they said that the specs, so they list like guaranteed FPS in certain games. When you selected the rental computer, those didn't change. But obviously, if you're going from a 5600X to a 7600X or a 4070 Ti to a 4070 Ti Super, those numbers would change. They didn't change on the listing, which is not good. So sort of like a bait and switch, right? Sure. And they checked like the specs like 4 or 5 different times over the course of their investigation, and the specs of these same, they're called the same thing, player 1, player 2, player 3, they changed multiple times over again.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So that's sort of like, as a consumer, if you know what the player 1 is, okay, that's the 4070 computer. If you know what the player 2 is, maybe that's the 4080, or one's the 40, like, which is which, but then they change all the time, and they're changing what seemed like almost daily. That's a very big bait and switch to the customer. They also said
consistency there.
They also said that the price, like they bought one, or they started to rent one, and then they jacked up the price on them without them sort of knowing. And then in the contract, so you sign this contract because this is a rental. In this contract, it says that if they change the price and you don't notify them within 60 days of that price change, you can't do anything. So if you're not essentially checking all the time on your like credit card statement or whatever it may be, they can just change the price. And if you don't notify them within 60 days of that first price change, and it has to be in writing too, they can just change the price, and you're just stuck paying the price.
Right.
And it doesn't say what that, so that you could pay 50, I think the entry level at the time was like $59 or $69. They could raise it to like $150. Like they could raise it whatever they want.
If you don't catch it,
it in time
to like get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. And then it wasn't rent to own. It was strictly rent.
Yeah. So
like you don't end up with this thing at the end.
Yeah. So the biggest thing too also is that, like most companies in the tech world, they go out to influencers, and these influencers talk about the product, whatever. But a lot of these influencers, and I feel bad for the influencers that are in this video because they're getting wrecked on social media right now. They're like, yeah, you could own this PC. Like they would be like me talking. I'd be like, yeah, guys, like you could own this PC, but you don't own it. You could never own it. It's not a rent to own program at all. So besides that over a 2-year period, this PC would cost like 3 or 4x the price or anything like that. The fact that all the TikTokers and influencers essentially lied. And there's one instance where one influencer was like, yeah, you could get this PC right here. And it's like, not even the PC that they were selling. It's not the one that because it had all these other upgrades and other things that you don't get in the rental. Very deceptive. And you have to think, who is this targeting? Like, who can't afford at the low end $1,200 to $1,500 for a PC? Probably teenagers.
Yeah. Or limited income, lower income, right? Like you got, like I said, a teenager, a college kid, who knows, right? But it's taking advantage of them, right? Kind of like almost, I don't want to say it, but like a payday loan or some of those other things where they hit you with like crazy interest rates on them, right? You're just getting into this contract, and if you're not reading it with a fine-tooth comb, like apparently a lot of people probably didn't, and then it got brought up to Steve's attention, right? A lot of people probably got hit with this thing, and are stuck with a machine and they're
Yeah.
stuck paying for it.
And you have to think too, it's like, okay, you get this thing, you know, and then you're like, your whole life's on that PC. It's so hard to send it back. And like they did in the video, they do a really good job of like going over the cost. And again, that's not the most egregious thing. Like the bait and switch, I think, is the biggest thing, because if you're looking and you're like, okay, the player one has this, and this, and then you go to rent and the specs completely change.
Right.
And it seems like, again, they change a lot. Not good at all.
Unless those spec changes are very upfront and in your face, like
they're not.
Right. If they were, I don't have as much of a problem with it, right? Like the player one purchase comes with this. The player one rental comes with this, right? If you're upfront, okay, fine. But if you're being shady about it, yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, and like they changed the program too to where, like, you know, this PC didn't come with a monitor, a keyboard, mouse, or anything like that. They changed the program where now like that comes included, but they jack the price up of each one. And then those components are also rented. So if you lose the mouse or you have to, you know, it's just really, really bad. And I think the thing that has happened to NZXT, and Steve talks about it in the video, but they were essentially invested in or bought by the same company that flipped Corsair. So a company invested or bought a percentage of Corsair. They built it up and then flipped it for a lot of money. You know, they invested so much, and say, I don't know the numbers because I watched a video 2 days ago, but you know, they bought it for say 5 million and flipped it for like 100 million. Like it was a big flip. And this same group of investors see NZXT as the next thing. And these really deceptive practices, we all know that the quality of Corsair has kind of gone down since they became this much larger company. It's just kind of known. And with NZXT, this kind of shady tactics to sell more or to have this consistent income is kind of corporate greed, essentially. Yeah. And there's a lot more that Steve goes into in the video. I would, again, suggest everybody to watch the video. They essentially cut ties completely with NZXT. NZXT actually had an ad campaign on Gamers Nexus that was coming up, and they completely canceled it. And it was like $23,000. So it's not like, you know,
yeah, it's a good chunk of money.
Yeah, and I think, again, when these investors come involved, the culture of the company sort of goes out the window. And I mean, we worked with NZXT for years, and I remember NZXT from the beginning. You know, we saw them, and they had a really cool culture. They had really cool products, and I still think their products are good. I don't necessarily think they're bad by any means, but this kind of stuff, screwing over the consumer, switching things around, it's not good. And I'm really glad that Steve, you know, they do these type of videos now to point it out to the community. You know,
well, and hopefully maybe like some of these videos can, if there were other companies that are starting to go down these paths, they can be like, we don't want this flack and feedback, so let's like do the right thing, right? Yeah. They don't want that negative publicity and, you know, loss of business.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's so much in this video. I would go watch it. It's kind of sad to see. It's sad to see that these companies, and again, I saw NZXT from the beginning, and they were a really cool company. And like I said, I still think they have that there. I mean, they're one of the bigger computer PC hardware companies in that kind of sector, I would say, of like cases and things like that. But yeah, we'll have to see what happened. NZXT did put out a statement on social media that they're investigating the claims. I think a lot of companies like just kind of let the bad press kind of go over, and then they, you know, so I don't know what will still happen. I don't even know if the website's still up. Like, can you still?
Oh, their rental program? Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see here. NZXT Flex. So it's still on here. So you can go and do the Flex 1 subscription PC, $59 a month. Let's do the second one. So Flex 1 Prime subscription, Flex 2 subscription. What's the difference between the Prime? And both let's do Flex 2.
I don't know. Yep.
So if I click buy, so this one has so when I click on buy, so if I want to buy it for $1,400,
7600X and a 4070.
Yeah, 4070. And again, let's see if these. I can't imagine that this is still like not the. Let's see. So if I click on subscribe,
No,
it goes to 5600X. That's just very in a 4070.
Yep. No, boy, no.
Yeah. And wait, 70, 150, 120, 170, 160, right?
Yep.
Can you remember those numbers? Because I'll forget.
Sure.
Yeah. So if I go back to buy,
70, 50, 120, 175. Yeah.
Yeah. So these numbers stay the same, but it's, well, this is a 4070 Ti or 4070.
But it's 7600X.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. It's just very deceptive. Like, you know, because you see this and it's not like it's a different SKU. That's the biggest thing, right?
Right. It's the Player 2. Yep.
It's the Player 2. It's the same thing. Does it even have the same reviews? So if I go down here, all the way to the bottom, Keith B, Thomas L, from 12.2 and 12.3, right? So if I go to subscribe, does it have the same reviews? Keith B, Thomas L. So it's it's just very deceptive. That's just not cool at all.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, old man in the chat says that's why we need independent journalists to call out bad business practices. Yeah, and I think, like I said, the PC community has always rallied around these things.
Yeah.
But in 2 months, does it make a difference? They're still selling this, and they're still doing the bait and switch. Like, you could change it if you're NZXT.
Right there. You could do it. They could have done it already.
Yeah,
right.
So the bait and switch is still actively happening. We just showed you that it's happening. That's not good. I honestly think that NZXT will just kind of weather the storm and continue to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if it's a true bait and switch, because if it was like the product that you see on the screen, if you got it home and it was something different than what was on that screen, right? That page shows you what you're getting on each of those configurations, right? But if it's something different when you got it, that's when you're going to get hit with the bait and switch. Yeah. It's just deceptive.
It's very deceptive. Yeah. But yeah, check out the video. Like I said, it kind of sucks to see that happen.
Yeah.
But we'll move on. We'll move on to Intel.
We got a lot to go over still.
Yeah. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger retires. And I saw a story by Charlie over at Semi Accurate that he was fired, actually. I don't know the how true that is, right. But you have to think, and I was thinking about it because we posted this story. This is their press release, Intel's press release, and it's your typical press release. Retired, 40+ career, stepped down, effective December. But then I read Charlie's story over at Semi Accurate, and you should read that. And it said that he was actually ousted, and it kind of makes you think that he was, because this wasn't like a planned thing for him to retire, because it says appoints 2 interim co-CEOs.
Right. If they knew he was retiring, they would have had a plan in place.
They would have had a plan in place. So it makes you think, like, what's going on at Intel? And from the Semi-Accurate article that Charlie wrote, it's like there's a big culture issue within Intel that they're having these problems. And he only joined Intel back in 2022 as CEO. So when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, he just figured it was so bad and he's like, I'm out.
Well, he had been at Intel for years previous to that as well. Like he spent quite a bit of time there, and then he went to work for EMC, I believe.
Yeah, but when he came back,
but when he came back, yes, he was only there for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was only there in January
22.
Yeah, 22. So it's not like he was there. And when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, he's probably like, yeah, this is sink and ship him out. But then reading Charlie's article, it seems like he might have been ousted. I don't know what's going on at Intel. Obviously, when the CEO who was making these big changes and things like that, now he's gone. So where's Intel going from here? I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a headline on a non-tech site today that was talking about, Intel, and like how they were just this premier company and just all the turmoil that they've had in the last couple of years.
In the semi-accurate article, they talk about, just like with NZXT, they talk about how it's all about the shareholders now. They say, oh, when's this going to be? Remember how they were stuck on 10 nanometer forever?
Right.
You talked about that, where the people who they're like, oh yeah, we'll make the date. We'll make the date, because they're so beholden to the shareholders to make the date that they don't. And it's on that like caring about the stock price and not the product leads you down to this. Right, this is what happens. And a lot of people are saying that's like could happen to NVIDIA too. With everything that's going on with NVIDIA. So pretty interesting. We'll see who takes over the helm at Intel. Who knows? But it just seems like a big culture problem, and it seems like they care about the stockholders, the stock price.
Well, they have to.
Yeah, they have to. They are beholden to the stockholders, but to rush products and things like that, to only meet certain things with a fleshed out product is never good.
Right.
And then you get all the backlash that we've seen from Intel for the past however many years, and going back decently long. I mean, we all remember 10 nanometer.
Multi-year, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, it was a joke. It was like 10 meter, plus, right? All the jokes and memes about that. And then, obviously 13th and 14th gen issues. This going on. Lackluster first. I mean, I say lackluster first dedicated graphics, but we'll get to that next story.
Yeah, I mean, they did announce their Battle Mage ARC series graphics cards that just came out, and they are priced pretty competitively, very competitively actually. So they did announce the ARC B580 and the ARC B570. Of course, B stands for Battle Mage. These are the second generation of Intel ARC graphics cards using the Xe2 architecture. The big thing here is the price. These are going to be made essentially for 1440p gaming, but the ARC B580 is going to be $249. So a $250 graphics card that uses 10 gigabytes or 12 gigabytes of memory, and the B570 is going to use 10 gigabytes of memory. So the B570 is going to be $219. So if these
prices are great,
if these are going to be actually good cards to game at 1440p at for that price,
that's awesome.
And again, you are going to get Intel XeSS, which is their sort of upscaling and things like that. So pretty interesting. A lot of companies announce their cards, and those are available starting December 13th. And then the B570, you'll have to wait. Those will be January 16th available from board partners. So
yeah, and we were kind of right about the the companies that we would see bringing these out. Acer, ASRock, Sparkle, I think are some of them that we listed, but there's a couple others in there as well.
Gunner's in there as well. Onyx, I don't remember seeing Onyx last time. Max Sun I remember seeing before as well. So
right.
So yeah, I think this is a good step in the right direction. Price wise, very aggressive. You have to be to break into this, and yeah, we'll see what these do. I haven't looked. I think the reviews might have came out today, but I haven't looked at them. So
I haven't seen any actual reviews yet. I just saw some previews.
Yeah,
taking a look at it.
Yeah, so we'll have to see, but pretty interesting. So we'll like I said, see how that goes and keep you guys updated on that. On the NVIDIA side, RTX 5070 Ti specs leaked on this one. This was way back November 21st, right before the holiday. 5070 Ti rumored to have 8,960 CUDA cores, TGP of 300 watts, launch in February. So we expect the 5090 and 5080 to be announced at CES in January. I assume that's what's going to happen. And then this will follow after that. And if you compare to the current generation, which is the RTX 4070 Ti, you can see CUDA cores are increasing, but the TGP is increasing. Also, it looks like they're going to switch over. It's still going to be a 12 gig card, but it's going to switch over to GDDR7 from GDDR6. Yeah, not much else is known on that, but I think this will be a solid launch for NVIDIA.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Pricing should be interesting to see what pricing is, but we kind of know what to expect from them. Excited for CES because we could get both AMD and NVIDIA graphics card announcements and get to see a lot of cards at CES. So excited for all of that. Also on the NVIDIA side, they will be making a 5090D for China. That's, of course, to get out of the embargoes. Similar specs to the 5090. Again, launch in January. Essentially the same specs we can expect to be just slightly a little bit different for the Chinese market. Not much news on, that, but they're also going to be doing that. And then on the AMD side, so we have specs for the Radeon RX 8800 XT specs and power. So Seasonic listed this card on their power supply chart here. So it's actually in the GPU, so you can select. Oops. Yeah, a little oopsie there. So there's going to be an RDNA 4 graphics card, 56 compute units. It's going to stick to GDDR6, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, a TDP of 220 watts. And again, this could be unveiled at CES in January. So we could get graphics cards from both sides, which would be kind of cool.
That'd be exciting.
Definitely cool if that happens. So that would be lots of graphics cards. Maybe Orion will get the pictures correct and won't have to go back.
I was waiting for it.
I know. So Black Friday happened. And it's always Black Friday is always a great time to buy PC hardware. There's always good deals on PC hardware.
Yep.
And Mind Factory released their sales data for Black Friday. I don't know if it's Black Friday and Cyber Monday or just Black Friday. But AMD takes 90% of motherboard sales. So it looks like people are buying, AMD motherboards, which with AM5 being the one that people are buying, AM5 based motherboards. You can see the sales here.
Even AM4 had good numbers.
Yeah, AM4 and AM5, they're still solid platforms. Very, very solid platforms currently. And you can see the sales kind of data there. The blue one, if you can't see this, is LGA 1700. I don't even think, there's a little bit of 1851 right here on the bottom. That would be the Z890. But yeah, 90%.
So if you say they had 90% of the motherboards sold, that you could probably correlate that pretty close to CPUs as well, right?
Yeah.
So while we don't have that info exactly, it's probably a very similar set of numbers, I would expect.
Yeah.
Because I don't know many people that upgrade their motherboard but not the CPU. It's usually the other way around. So
yeah.
Interesting.
Damon in the chat talking about Intel graphics cards. He goes, hopefully drivers and game support don't take 1 to 1.5 years to mature again. Yeah, I think that was the big thing, is that you would see, and we talked about it a lot on this podcast, you would see, driver update increases performance by like 30% in a game. It's like, well, kind of a little too late, because people...
Yeah, they had their first impression, and it wasn't great. Not that improvements with software and overtime are not appreciated. It's just your first impression is very important.
And he said also 2 8-pins on the 8800 XT. And he says the 12V HPWR or the 12V X2 needs to die. Yeah, all the adapters, just more adapters. But yeah. And Old Man in the chat says, almost all the CPU recommendations I saw during Black Friday were AMD. Yeah, there were a lot of deals. We posted a lot of deals. Most of them were AMD. There were some Intels, but like I don't think the discounts were as much. Like it was like 7 or 8% off discount. And then like AMD was like 15, 18, 20%. So yeah. Moving on from that, it finally came out. The elusive Noctua in Seasonic 600 watt power supply is now available, so you can pick this up if you need it. Again, color, hate it, love it.
So I'm surprised they didn't make it beige, like the black
whole
part
thing,
beige, or all brown, or just go all in on it.
It uses their NF812 X25 fan and a custom engineered fan grill for even quieter operations. So it's custom engineered fan grill right here. But 1600 watt power supply, most people don't need that. But if you do, it's here and you can, make use of it. But yeah, $569 US for it. So very expensive. But again, you're going to pay that much because it's 1600 watts. Also shown at Computex and finally available is the Inwin Infinite, which is their 11th generation signature chassis. I wasn't sold on this one.
No, and I saw it today, and I was like, this looks familiar, but I think it was from when we had seen it and talked about it originally at Computex. It's neat. I don't know. That piece rotates, right?
It rotates, yeah.
Mechanically. It's got this huge piece of curved glass.
And this is all aluminum.
It's aluminum build. That plate there comes off so you can access behind the motherboard. It's got to be big. Like it's got to take up a lot of space. But their cases, it's exactly what I expect from one of these premier cases.
I really want to be like wowed again.
What was the last one that wowed you?
I don't know. The spiral thing was just, I didn't like it.
Yeah. It was too artsy. What was the one with all the moving?
That one was cool. The one that was like a transformer that opened. I liked that
just
one.
Opened up a lot.
That was like 4 generations ago, maybe 3. That was the last one I was kind of wowed at the Inwin signature chassis. Yeah, S-frame in the Tau 2.0. Yeah, I love the Tau. The Tau is such a cool computer. And like some of them are incredibly impractical, but the S-frame or I don't think the D-frame was this. Was a D-frame the signature? I don't think. That became more.
Yeah, I think so.
But the Taus were cool. Like, yeah, so this is available if you want to check it. Well, I'm sure we'll see it at CES too. But
yeah, the D-frame was one of them, the X-frame.
Yeah. Lots of different ones. So, but it is available. And then we finally have new MSI handheld. So we saw it leaked. Maybe it was at no, I don't think it was at Computex. I don't know when this was leaked. But the Claw 8 AI Plus is now available. And they also released a Claw 7 AI Plus, new gaming handhelds from MSI. These use the new Core Ultra 7 processor, the Series 2. So this is the larger Claw 8 AI, which is the 8-inch. Or wait. Yeah, so this is the 8-inch, and then they also have the 7-inch, which is a little bit smaller. Do you like the gold?
I don't mind it. Yeah, kind of the bronze gold color. Yep. Speaking of handhelds, I'm pretty sure Shinny got a Steam Deck.
Oh, nice.
Supposedly.
Right on sale?
Like yesterday or day before, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Anyway, these are cool. Hopefully we'll get to see one at CES.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see these at CES. It says 100%, 113% higher peak FPS in average 20% higher FPS under identical conditions compared to competitors. It just says competitors. I don't know what that means. Does that mean ROG Ally? Does that mean Steam? I don't know what that means.
Right.
The biggest thing with any of these is we gotta play with them. We gotta see what they're about. But good to see. Good to see. And it seems like, at least for these, it seems like the refresh cycle's like so fast on these.
I was gonna say, we saw the first claw at CES last year, and it wasn't even out yet. I don't think, right? It hadn't launched when we saw it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And now we're already getting the second one.
I mean, just like the ROG Ally, like the next one up was, yeah. But yeah, lots to see and lots of stuff going on. Let us know in the comments, or if what do you guys think of the NZXT thing? What do you think is going on at Intel? Lots of interesting stuff going on, rolling into CES, which is like a big thing for all of these companies. So yeah, let us know. That is it for news for the week. Talking about what we have coming up next week, talking about MSI, I'll be taking a look at one of their new motherboards. So the MPG Z890 Carbon Wi-Fi. So it says Wi-Fi 7, 5 gig LAN, lots of toolless stuff, great power delivery on this. So I'll be taking a look at that. If you guys can see over there, it's actually on right now because I've been testing it. So definitely go ahead and stay tuned for that. And I'm taking a look at an ASUS product. An ASUS product that maybe you didn't know ASUS made. Yep. So I'm taking a look at their ZenBeam L2, which is a smart portable LED projector. It's a pretty interesting product. It can project a 40-inch image from 1 meter and a 120-inch image from 3 meters away. Comes with an Android box, so you can run all your streaming services and everything like that. Really sleek design on this as well. Yeah, so really, really cool stuff. So we'll see what that's about. And I'll be displaying it on my wall over here so you guys can see what that's all about. So definitely stay tuned for that next week as well. And moving to our question of the week. Mm-hmm. What did you think this year? Now, for a few years, it's been like Black Friday into Cyber Monday were the sales. So the sales started on Black Friday and it went all the way to Cyber Monday.
Yep.
This year, it started the previous Monday.
Way early.
All the way to so it was like Monday to Monday.
Yep. I don't mind it, right? Like it lets people. I think it relieves some of the pressure from those people that had to work retail, right? You could maybe relax your physical store hours because people can buy online. You don't have to be there at 5 a.m. waiting in line, worry about the crowds, like. And if you're going to get it or not, right? Like, so it opens up that purchasing time period. I think that's good. Deals wise, there were a lot of TVs that were some really nice prices. I saw some Samsung frame TVs that were really I was like, this could be pretty good. I thought I was going to have to buy a new TV yesterday, but that's a whole nother story.
Wow. Yeah, I did like it. Damon in the chat says he did most of his shopping in early November with early Black Friday sales. Prices didn't seem to change over the real weekend. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Black Friday was always like, there's only a certain amount if it sells out. Yep. And it was like a really, really good, really good deal. Right now, it just seems like okay deals, but the deals go on for a longer period of time,
right? Or it's deals spread out across a wider range.
The only company that I saw do like a limited number of products was Wise. Like Wise, they make the Wise Cam and everything like that. They had certain products that were like really, really discounted. And they're like on the email blast that they sent out, they're like, yeah, 30 units at this price. That's it. So That's like the only
30.
Yeah, like 30. Yeah.
What's the point?
It was like a crazy say. It was like, let's say like something was $100, and they're like, this one, it was for Cyber Monday. Like I might even still have the email.
Because that's like 30. That's
because I clicked on it. And I was about to buy it.
Gone. I didn't even think to look. I don't know. There's.
So here's the email. So. Okay. So this is like the ones that
only 30, down there, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like they worked with these other companies. So like this thermometer apparently is normally $109, was $9.90, and then this is, it says $129, but like if you go on Amazon, it was still $69.99. So it was like,
it's still a good.
Yeah, but it says only 30 units. So. Pretty like I said, you like seeing stuff like that if you can pounce on it, but I do feel like most companies just came up with a 25% off max, and they ran it for at least that whole week. Which I'm sure the consumer was fine. And I feel like as somebody, we post affiliate deals and we make money when people buy stuff. It gave people more time to buy, because when it used to be just Black Friday and just Cyber Monday, you had to buy that day, and there's a lot of pressure there. You don't get to rethink the decision as much, and you're like, no, and then the next day it's gone.
Yeah.
So I think that I do like it. It's a lot less pressure to buy, and like I went to like the mall on Black Friday, up in Fremont, and it was busy, but it wasn't like insane by any means.
Nobody busting down doors.
Yeah. So yeah, I would be a fan of doing the whole thing. And I think for companies, they might actually do more volume that way if the sales for a longer period of time. And they don't necessarily have to put certain things on like crazy deals for that one day. They can do, they might actually make more money because the discount's not necessarily as much. Did you buy anything?
Nothing tech related. I bought some stuff, like some Christmas gifts for people, and got stuff at discount, but nothing tech related. I was looking at some SSDs like usual. Like I said, I almost bought a TV, but that's only because I thought there was something wrong with the audio in the TV. And
old man in the chat said he bought the Wyze Floodlight Camera V2 for $49. Why? I feel like Wyze is the best bang for your buck when it comes to like security camera stuff like that. I have Wyze cams, love them, and they work really great. I bought for myself, and it wasn't a deal, it wasn't a Black Friday deal, but I bought the new DJI mic minis.
Oh, you did buy them?
Yeah, so we'll use those at CES. So I bought those for myself, but I didn't really buy anything else. Oh no, I did buy this thing for my espresso machine, but it's like a little, I always spill my espresso like the grounds, so it's called a tamping funnel, I think. But I bought one of those. It was like, it was Black Friday sale, but that's not a tech related thing. Interesting Black Friday. Anything else tech related that you did or want to talk about or watched?
No, I'm just getting ready for CES. I gotta get my flights booked.
Yeah, CES is coming up, guys. It's gonna come really, really quick.
Yes,
we have, I would say,
it's a month away.
We have half of our meetings already booked.
That's only half. That's only half. We're gonna be busy.
We're
always busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm looking at the schedule right now. We got about half booked. We have lots of stuff coming up, so definitely stay tuned for that. We're gonna be pushing so much content out that week. I have to obviously talk to Ryan about some ideas for different content, so we'll have to, and things like that. We might do live podcast. Who knows? We always say we're gonna do stuff, and then we get tired by the end of the week, but. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But we will be playing some games tonight. Get some of that after seeing the in-laws anger out, playing some Apex Legends. So we'll be doing that. That's going to be over on Twitch, twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. Ryan runs that stream. Getting some gaming on, always a good time. So if you want to continue to hang out with us, we continue to talk tech in the chat there. We can definitely do that. So twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. Thanks everybody who was in the live chat. We always obviously appreciate you guys. And again, if you are ever in the live chat and you want to ask questions about PC and tech, we always do our best to try to answer. But Damon in the chat, Old Man in the chat. Was there somebody else in the chat that I missed?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But Damon and Old Man, good to see you, Damon. Maybe you coming to CES. Maybe I'll see you in January if you are going to be there. But until next week, we will catch everybody later.